Isn't it wild? It shows us time.
In the remote West Desert, a small group is stepping back in time.
It's sobering to be here, and it's important land.
They're here to uncover a painful past.
This is another part of history that's not told to us.
When I look around, people really suffered here.
Kiyoshi Ina and Masako Takahashi were born during World War II.
I'm grateful to my parents for having shielded me.
Their mothers gave birth in this dry and rigid valley behind guard towers and barbed wire fences in one of the largest internment camps on American soil.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. That is why the commanding general of the Western Defense Command determined that all Japanese within the coastal area should move inland.
In total, just over 11,000 Japanese Americans were incarcerated here at the Topaz internment camp in Delta.
My mom and dad, they never talked about it. Even their friends, they never talked about it.
The camp operated for 3 years.
I realize now that they didn't tell us because they didn't want us to walk around as fearful at every turn.
But now the whole story is beginning to surface.
We are walking from the direction of where Wakasa lived towards the spot where he was killed.
Today, they're here to honor a man whose story was buried in this exact spot until only recently.
It was the most important story at Topaz.
The story is that of 63-year-old James Hatsuaki Wakasa. He was walking his dog when he was shot dead by a guard who claimed James was trying to escape.
Newspaper headlines were, "Jap killed trying to escape." He wasn't. He was parallel to the fence. The bullet went through his heart and pierced his spine. He died on his back. He was walking his dog.
In a sign of solidarity, more than 2,000 people went to the funeral. Days later, inmates erected a monument in Wakasa's honor, made from a sack of stolen cement and rocks.
They wanted people to remember for generations.
But soon after, the monument was ordered destroyed.
First of all, he was murdered for no reason, and then memorialized by his friends, and then obliterated, his memory and what happened to him, by the government. And then talk about whitewash.
For decades, Japanese Americans thought the monument was destroyed until Nancy Ukai discovered a map.
The builders didn't destroy it. They buried it. And they left a little bit showing for future generations to discover.
The archaeologist took this photo when he found it. Yeah, you can see it right there where that girl is taking a picture. It was, oh my God, how fantastic. It's found. We have proof that it happened. It's not hearsay. And so we were delighted at the idea that it could be excavated.
But today's memorial service is being held without the monument.
July 27th, the Topaz Museum Board excavated it using a forklift operator. And Japanese Americans weren't told until after it occurred. And there were no archaeologists. We'd been robbed of an opportunity to witness our own history, to remember Mr. Wakasa's spirit.
Nancy and Masako are part of the Wakasa Memorial Committee created specifically for the preservation of the monument. According to Masako, the Topaz Museum Board removed the monument without informing the Memorial Committee.
You know, my culture is don't make a fuss. Don't make such a problem for everybody. But I am here standing up and speaking because it was wrong.
His memory deserved better than that. So I think today with this ceremony, we're really pleased that the National Park Service is here to assess the condition of the land.
It's the first step in what I'm hoping is going to be the start of more dialogue and more conversation.
Right.
The museum board has since agreed to bring in the National Park Service.
So how many feet is this?
To do an archaeological assessment.
That's something we're going to measure.
Of the disturbed site.
This was very emotional to see basically what I view as a protective, professional recognition of the site.
As for the monument, Nancy and Masako have access to it at the Topaz Museum in town.
Yeah.
This is the bottom.
This is where it's being stored for the time being.
This side would be facing the mountains.
The museum board owns all but one of 640 acres the camp operated on.
It really is a powerful place to be.
Jane Beckwith is the museum board's president.
And we know kind of the things that go on out at the site. We were really afraid that it would be vandalized, really afraid. And we did not want that to happen. And so now we are dedicated to protecting the monument and going forward, making sure that it's safe and that it's telling us a bigger story.
Choosing not to answer questions about the perceived mishandling of Wacasa's memorial, Jane says the museum board wants to move forward in working with the memorial committee.
Moving toward a reconciliation and making things easier seems like a good plan at this point.
We haven't been able to really fully acknowledge with our community because of this astonishing.
Right, because of the way it was excavated. It's so painful.
Misako and Nancy are advocating on behalf of the Memorial Committee. They want to establish a formal agreement with the museum board on handling the monument and future discoveries to rightfully preserve this land and its stories.
It's a good start, and I told somebody it's also the beginning of a consecration process. You know, because the land was desecrated, and now we're trying to make it sacred again.
For KSL 5 News, I'm Garna Mejia.